The story begins in the year of 2167 that marked the absolute extinction of humanity. The planet did not just fall. It was pulverized into a wasteland where cities stood like jagged teeth scraping a sky, choked with Si Chen and burning radiation. Hope had died a decade prior, yet amidst the charcoal remains of civilization, a single man remained breathing. His name was Si Chen, an SS-ranked lightning assassin and the final line of defense for a dead species. 7 years earlier, the sky had torn open to unleash the demon kings upon Earth. Foremost among them was Lan Yue, a monolithic terror whose arrival turned the world into a slaughterhouse. Now, standing face to face in the ruins, Lan Yue looked down at the last human with pure disgust, scoffing that Si Chen was nothing more than pathetic trash while mocking the inherent weakness of the human race. With a sickening, razor-sharp smile, the Demon King declared that the warrior had only one final purpose left: to be digested. Dark, malicious energy began to twist and pulse around Lan Yue's fist, condensing into a localized black hole of raw power. Intending to consume Si Chen's very soul and absorb his hard-earned strength, the Demon King launched the attack without a second thought. A tidal wave of absolute destruction rushed forward, leaving no room for escape. As the apocalyptic light consumed him, Si Chen's life did not just flash before his eyes, it burned. He saw his little sister lying broken and helpless, crying out for him. He saw the mangled faces of his brothers in arms who had held the line until they were torn to pieces. Finally, the image of his master, the legendary warrior who had spent decades forging him into a weapon, appeared before him. Pure, unmitigated fury replaced the pain because the demons had taken every single thing he ever loved. Si Chen made a silent vow that even if it tore his soul apart, he would take this monster to hell with him. Reaching deep into the empty reserves of his life force, he activated his forbidden trump card, the Terminus Arc. A supernova of blinding, crackling white light detonated from his body, causing the arrogant smirk to vanish from Lan Yue's face as the Demon King froze in panic. Si Chen's own flesh began to disintegrate from the sheer volume of energy, but he poured the absolute last drop of his existence into one final, cataclysmic strike. The whiteout swallowed everything around him. In those final moments, the ghosts of his past returned once more: his dying sister, his stoic master, and the memory of his happy family from a peaceful lifetime that felt like a myth. As the explosion tore him apart, Si Chen felt a crushing weight of regret, lamenting that he had not been strong enough or fast enough to protect them. Lan Yue cursed in agony as the white light erased his demonic flesh, furious that he was being defeated by what he considered an inferior race. Yet, even in death, Si Chen's mind remained locked on his failures, wishing he had discovered the demons' breeding grounds sooner to assassinate the first king and prevent all this suffering. Suddenly, the blinding light snapped out completely. Si Chen opened his eyes to see a pristine, white acoustic tile on a ceiling rather than a burning sky. He blinked as his mind cleared from the fog, realizing his body felt light, completely intact, and entirely devoid of his old scars. He sat up fast, his heart hammering against his ribs as he found himself lying on a clean cot inside a quiet, sunlit room. Rushing to the window to pull back the blinds, what he saw completely paralyzed him. Students were walking below, and the buildings were immaculate, meaning he was standing inside a college infirmary. Si Chen forced his combat-trained mind to slow down until the impossible truth crystallized. He had gone back 10 years into the past, right into his university days. A sharp, static hum vibrated inside his skull, and a transparent, neon blue interface materializes in the air right before his eyes, announcing that the authority of gluttony had successfully integrated into the host. Looking at the digital display, his eyes locked onto the date stamp of May 16, 2057. The math hit him like a physical blow because this exact date was precisely 3 years before the cataclysm. In 3 years, the first demonic sovereign known as Wrath would breach the dimensional veil, shattering Earth's defenses and allowing Lan Yue and the rest of the demon lords to flood the world. Looking down at his smooth hands, a cold resolve settled over him, because if he could execute Wrath the moment he stepped through the rift, the gates would never open. The blue screen flashed again to reconfirm the integration as Si Chen studied the floating text, wondering what this strange interface was since he had only ever relied on raw talent in his past life. In this era, only 1 out of every 10,000 people possessed the genetic variants to awaken a specialized combat class, and his university was built specifically to train those rare prodigies. In his original timeline, Si Chen had been a statistical zero who never awakened in college, making him the ultimate target for campus predators who constantly beat him down. The interface pulsed again to display a detailed file revealing he possessed the SS rank Lightning Assassin class with all attributes maxed at level 100. A familiar, dangerous hum of electricity sparked in his veins, confirming he had brought his endgame arsenal back with him and awakened 3 years ahead of schedule. Before he could act, the infirmary door swung open and a frantic boy named Malong burst into the room. Malong, a low-level flower enchanter support class, dashed over to the bed to anxiously ask if Si Chen was conscious and feeling okay. Si Chen replied calmly, noting that the blue interface was invisible to his friend. Malong stared in total disbelief, completely baffled as to how Si Chen's injuries had vanished after the brutal beating he had suffered just yesterday. Seeing his roommate alive brought a genuine surge of happiness to Si Chen's heart, remembering how Malong had been one of the first to die in the future. Malong then remembered that the combat ranking assessment was tomorrow and dragged Si Chen out of the room to prepare. Outside, the massive university plaza was packed with hundreds of students running tactical drills, practicing flame control, or casually playing ball. The scene was laid out in a strangely peaceful manner, prompting Si Chen to quietly comment that it had been a very long time since he had seen so many living people. Malong was spooked by the comment and suggested a casual walk, during which Si Chen fell into deep thought about how he needed to grow stronger immediately to keep this hopeless future from repeating. The serious problem was that leveling up required hunting inside the demonic rifts, which were strictly monopolized by the major guilds. Still, Si Chen glanced at his hidden stats and realized that while the average student was a pathetic E rank and only true geniuses reached D rank, he was already an apex predator hiding in a sheep pen. Suddenly, a basketball flew through the air and smashed straight into Malong's face, knocking the poor support mage off his feet and sending him crashing to the ground in pain. A mocking voice echoed from the top of the concrete stairs as a gang of campus bullies descended. Their leader smirked, commenting on how quickly the two of them had recovered from yesterday's beating. Malong turned pale with terror at running into them again, but Si Chen showed no fear at all as he calmly stepped forward to face the group head-on. The leader stepped directly into Si Chen's personal space, wearing an arrogant smirk as he asked why they had not brought energy drinks for his crew. Malong panicked immediately, bowing his head to apologize and promising to go buy them right away. Before his friend could leave, Si Chen reached out to stop him, calmly telling Malong that he had done nothing wrong and that it should be the bullies who apologized instead. Hearing this, the memory of yesterday rushes back to the surface of Si Chen's mind. In his vision, this exact same pack of hyenas had him pinned down on the filthy bathroom floor, forcing his head deep into a toilet bowl while laughing like maniacs. They had beaten him mercilessly, treating his body like a punching bag. Malong had been there too, desperately begging them to stop until his throat went dry, but nobody listened. The lead bully had only smiled, mockingly claiming that since our hero hadn't awakened yet, a little physical trauma might serve as good motivation. The entire gang had erupted into laughter, thoroughly amused by his agony. Only when Si Chen finally blacked out from the trauma did they lose interest and walk away, leaving a terrified Malong shaking his unconscious body and screaming his name. Back then, Si Chen had constantly wondered why these monsters refused to leave them alone. Returning to the reality of the present, a cold realization settles over him. Evil isn't exclusive to the demonic rifts. The human world breeds its own brand of monsters. The ringleader's eyes light up at our boy's quiet defiance. Grinning widely, the bully turns to his crew, declaring that it looks like they get to have double the fun today. He steps closer, demanding once more to know why the two outcasts failed to bring them their drinks. Malong panics again, stuttering through an apology and offering to run to the cafeteria this very second, but Si Chen immediately cuts him off. Our hero keeps his grip firm on his roommate's shoulder, telling him flatly that they owe absolutely no one an apology. The leader blinks, completely unaccustomed to this lack of fear, while Malong looks at his friend in pure terror, wondering what kind of death wish has suddenly possessed him. That is when Gong Chung, a registered E-rank flower warrior, decides to take charge. Dressed in a smug, untouchable expression, the bully stalks toward them. Si Chen locks eyes with him, his gaze dropping to sub-zero temperatures without showing a single molecule of fear. He stands his ground, perfectly balanced and ready for impact. Our boy knows the exact source of this clown's confidence. Gongqing only acts like a warlord because his older brother runs the student council. As the confrontation heats up, a crowd of onlookers begins to form a wide perimeter around the stairs. Whispers spread like wildfire, accompanied by the familiar, mocking chuckles of students who recognize the school's favorite targets. To the crowd, these two are simply the most pathetic, unawakened losers on campus. Gong Chung closes the distance, glaring down at Si Chen as his fists begin to hum, glowing with raw, activated energy. With a deep scowl, the bully growls out a demand for Si Chen to repeat himself, making it clear he detests the new attitude. Completely unmoved by the theatrical display, our hero calmly tells the group that they need to pack up their circus and leave them alone. Annoyed by the backtalk, Gong Chung sneers, stating that the garbage clearly needs another trip to the hospital to remember its place. Without a single word of warning, the bully lunges forward, throwing a full-strength punch aimed directly at Si Chen's jaw. What happens next breaks the crowd's brains. Si Chen sways his head to the side, effortlessly dodging the incoming fist, and immediately executes a lightning-fast counterstrike right into Gong Cheng's extended arm. The students on the sidelines freeze, unable to process the pure speed of the movement. Even Malong's jaw drops in absolute disbelief. As far as the entire university is concerned, Si Chen is a dud who hasn't even crossed the threshold of awakening. Gong Cheng's face turns purple with rage. His ego cannot handle being checked by a weakling he has spent semesters terrorizing. But for our protagonist, this street fight is the ultimate testing ground. He decides right here, right now, to calibrate his new physics. In that split second, the subterranean integration completes. The system locks in, and Si Chen officially shifts into the SS rank Electric Assassin class. Traces of crackling, blinding blue electricity begin to dance across his skin. Malong stammers, pointing a trembling finger and asking when the hell he awakened, but our boy completely tunes out the noise. His vision is locked onto his target, his eyes sharp, cold, and entirely lethal. Furious at being humiliated, Gong Chung screams at the top of his lungs, activating his signature indestructible demon armor. Glowing plates of energy manifest around his torso as he charges like a freight train, shouting that he is going to turn Si Chen into red paste. This time, our hero doesn't shift an inch. Cloaked in a violent aura of snapping lightning, he steps directly into the collision path. With a motion too fast for the human eye to track, Si Chen drives a thunderous punch straight into the center of Gong Cheng's face. The kinetic force is cataclysmic. The impact shatters the bully's momentum entirely, sending his body rocketing backward across the plaza. Gong Chung crashes hard onto the pavement meters away, skidding through the dirt. A collective gasp sucks the air out of the courtyard. Nobody can believe that the campus punching bag just launched an armored warrior with a single blow. Lying in the dirt, Gong Chung coughs, cursing violently as he screams that it was a cheap shot. He rolls over, yelling at his crew to stop standing around like idiots and help him, but his friends are completely paralyzed, their mouths hanging open as terror locks their knees. Si Chen stands perfectly still in the center of the clearing, surrounded by a high-voltage hiss of ozone, his eyes glowing with an ancient, terrifying authority. Refusing to accept reality, Gong Chung pushes himself up, screaming that he is going to end this permanently. Gathering the absolute last reserves of his energy, he sprints forward for one final, desperate assault. Si Chen doesn't even raise his guard. He reaches out with a single hand, catching the bully's incoming, full-force fist effortlessly. The impact makes a loud pop, but Si Chen's arm doesn't move a millimeter. Gongcheng's eyes dilate in pure horror. He pulls, but his fist is locked in a vice grip. Looking down at the trembling bully with absolute indifference, our boy delivers a final verdict. You're just too weak. Without a trace of hesitation, Si Chen unleashes a maximum output electric punch straight into Gongcheng's face. The detonation is spectacular. Before the bully even realizes the blow has landed, he is launched into the air, flying several meters like a ragdoll before crashing violently into the concrete. The ground shatters upon impact, sending cracks spiderwebbing through the stone. With that single strike, the atmosphere turns dead silent. The fight is over. The tyrant of the freshman class lies in a broken, unconscious heap, completely neutralized. The entire courtyard stands frozen in absolute shock. Nearby, a student stares blankly, his glasses cracked from the shockwave, his mind utterly failing to compute the power level they just witnessed. Everyone is left wondering the exact same thing. How did this loser become a god overnight? Meanwhile, our hero calmly reviews the transparent status screen floating in his peripheral vision, drawing a couple of quick tactical conclusions. First, he notes that he can seamlessly switch into his electric assassin state at will. Second, the reality is even more staggering than he predicted. Even at baseline level 1, his raw output is overwhelmingly superior to standard, low-tier awakened humans. But a new puzzle presents itself. Looking closely at the interface, Si Chen notices that his experience bar hasn't shifted a single millimeter despite crushing a registered combatant. An idea flashes in his mind. He turns and begins walking slowly toward the unconscious bully, causing Malong and the remaining gang members to panic, instantly assuming our boy is about to execute the guy on the spot. Ignoring the frantic shouts of the crowd, Si Chen kneels down, bringing his lightning-shrouded palm inches away from Gongcheng's face. He needs to know if extracting experience points from defeated opponents operates under the same dark rules as his previous life. But before his hand can make contact, a crystal-clear voice cuts sharply through the heavy tension.